I'm Kara Goodwin, host of the Meditation Conversation. Thank you so much for being here today. I'm so excited to have the amazing Maureen St. Germain joining us today. So we are live streaming this for the Conscious Awakening Network. So we've got some of you joining us here on Zoom. We are on the Conscious Awakening platform. And if you ever want to join these, you can register just like all of you did on Zoom, or to have joined the Zoom, but you're always welcome to register so you can join us here on Zoom. That way you can ask questions, you can interact, and that's what I would love to invite you to do today. For those of you who are here with us on Zoom, Maureen has graciously invited questions in so you can use the chat. So Maureen, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited to talk to you today.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be with you and to be able to reach people in this way. It's awesome.
Yeah, it is. It's wonderful. I want to do a little intro before we get started. So I think everybody here knows Maureen, but Maureen St. Germain has over 25 years of experience in the area of mystical and sacred traditions. She's known as the practical mystic. She's a prolific teacher and facilitator of spiritual knowledge for contemporary life. A lifelong interest in the Akashic Records resulted in her being granted access to this dimension that's been off limits to most of humanity for millions of years. She's the founder of Akashic Records International and an extremely accurate Akashic Records guide and instructor. So, Maureen, I'm so excited to talk to you. I wonder if we can let's start with the practical mystic. Can you explain a little bit about what makes you a practical mystic?
I've been doing spiritual teaching for many, many years, and I didn't leave my corporate job right away. I have 4 sons, and I put them all but one through college. And my cohorts at work began calling me the practical mystic. And so when I was out teaching, I was given that moniker. And I was also featured in a book in Wisconsin called Famous Wisconsin Mystics. And that's where they called me the practical mystic. So everybody called me that. That's where it came from. And the reason I think that they did that, or reason why people think that, is because I have a desire to make the spiritual knowledge usable. I used to say, well, I'm like Betty Crocker for spirituality. But then I realized that was dated. So then I started saying I was like Martha Stewart in helping people get the most out of life. But then she went to jail. So I quit saying all of it. And that's why we just say the practical mystic. And so you know that I have a good sense of humor. And that's what makes it practical,
Yes. Okay. That's brilliant. So would you say that you're psychic? Is this kind of part of the practical mysticism?
I am plugged in. I don't like the reference to being psychic only because it implies that you're only accessing a certain realm, and I'm accessing a very high realm when I give information. So it's not quite the same as a psychic reading, for example.
Okay. So would that be maybe the difference between like accessing the collective consciousness versus the Akashic Records realm, or how would you explain
Well,
that?
the collective consciousness could be the equivalent of the Akashic Records, because the collective consciousness might include everything. What I will say is there's layers of, just like we have layers of the sky, let's say the ionosphere and the stratosphere and so on, there are layers of energy that are around us and available to us. And so when people access information about you as in a psychic reading, they're often reading from the 4th dimension. I'm already at the 11th dimension when I'm reading for people. So there's a huge leap. And I'm not channeling through all those dimensions. I have the tool that I use to get into the records is a way to portal or tunnel in so that you are not going through all the layers. As a matter of fact, that is the whole point of people opening the Akashic modern time opening the Akashic Records, is that you can access the Akashic Records without having a mastery to achieve that level. So in the old days, shamans and mystics could access the Akashic Records, but most everyday people couldn't. And today, everyday people can.
Mm. So, what would be the difference in the information if it's acquired from the 11th dimension versus kind of the fourth dimension, for example?
Well, when people are seeking information, a psychic reading, they're looking for information about the future, generally. They're looking to find out if this love affair will work out, or this job will work out, or, will I ever get pregnant? Those kinds of things. In the Akashic Records, when you ask questions, you're asking more about your emotional situation. So you're asking, why did my brother say that awful thing to me? What is my soul's purpose? How can I actualize my purpose? How can I actualize myself? Like that.
Okay. So, do you find that the people that come to you and want to access the Akashic records, there's just naturally kind of a difference in what they're wanting to engage with?
Not everyone understands that the value of the Akashic Records is a very high a high loving guidance. And so the people who it's not always true that people have a preference, but maybe they're very spiritual and they don't feel like they want a psychic reading, and it feels like the Akashic Records might be better or might be holier or more about their spiritual path, and it is. Now, there's nothing wrong with having a psychic reading if that's what you want. When we get a client who signs up, we immediately send them a document that explains this is not a psychic reading, and we primarily give you answers to questions that you are asking about you, yourself, and your relationships. Psychic readings definitely involve time. Now, we don't predict anything in the records, but we can give you uh, uh, stories or experiences that are going to lead you to understand the future. For example, I had a regular client, and she was winding up her reading, and she said, "Oh, by the way, I'm moving into a new apartment. It's a 2-bedroom, and I've got this gay guy that's going to be my roommate. I want to know how that's going to work out." And the record keeper said, "It will be fine until the luster wears off."
Mm.
And she said, "Luster? What luster? Does that mean he's not gonna stay?" And the answer was yes. And then she said, "Well, when will he leave?" Now, at that point, we're already deep in the rabbit hole, and that information was flowing, so the answer was given. And they said, "July." And here was May, and she was moving in June. And so she said, "Of what year?" Because she couldn't fathom that her roommate would move in 1 month and then leave the following month. But it turned out badly. The man had gotten involved in drugs, lost his job, and everything just went south. And then she asked, "Well, should I have someone else as a roommate?" And this is the wisdom part of the record keepers. And they said, "Keep your date with this man. It will lead you to the timing to have the roommate of your dreams." So a month later, when she was looking again for a roommate, she met a woman, and they became such good friends that they even scheduled a movie night together once a week. So
Wow.
that's the cool part, and it isn't actually prediction per se. It's really reaching into that experience. And think about this. If you knew you were going to be involved in a situation where you were going to be disappointed and your roommate was going to drop out, it softens the blow. Just like if you um because I'm so plugged in, I have been fired a few times in life when I worked in the corporate world. And every time I knew ahead of time when I was going to be let go. One time I was actually told the exact time.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's really helpful.
yeah.
And it makes you kind of tune into the reality that there is more happening than just there is kind of a divinity.
Right. And to be fair, I think that information I got about being let go came through my higher self because of the higher self work that I teach.
Mm.
And it's pretty darn awesome.
Yes, it is. It is. You're very connected. And what's beautiful is that through that connection, it uplifts those who you're connecting with. And I've experienced this for myself because even the very first time that you and I connected, it was so synchronous. Synchronous?
Synchronistic.
Synchronistic. Thank you. I always say synchronicity. I'm like, how would you use it in this way? Okay. But I was literally washing my face one night thinking, I mean, we've never connected. And I was like, I really want to invite Maureen to be on the podcast. And I'm like, mentally drafting this email while I'm washing my face. And I go downstairs and I get on my computer to email you. And I had an email from you. And again, like that was the very first time that we didn't know each other. And
Wow.
I was like, I literally just opened my laptop only to email you. And so it's like you are so tuned in and like you gave examples on your own experience there of knowing when you were going to be let
Fired.
go. But then but then, when those things come through so strongly, it's so uplifting, it makes anybody you're interacting with then kind of light up and feel that divine connection that comes through so strongly. So it's really beautiful.
Thank you.
I can see here a message. Let's see. Jessica says, I'm in a twin flame path. How can I tap in to find out exactly what I'm to be doing? Do you have any thoughts about that?
Well, when she says she's in a twin flame path, does that mean that there's two of them? I'm not quite clear on that, so I'd like some clarity. And the question above it as well, um, accessing the Akashic Records is fairly easy. In fact, it's so easy that you're going to think, nah, that's not possible. So now you get to trust me. You can get the book or you can take a class at my school. This is called Opening the Akashic Records, and it's available on Amazon. It's available on audio, and it is a required reading for people who are taking the coursework. We give you training so that you have access. Plus, you also have the benefit of being trained by a mystic. And we give a lot of mystical information supplemental to any other course. And we also make sure that you get your higher self connection going. And so all these things roll into a much bigger package than just taking an Akashic Records class. And we've been told by people who have studied with other people and then decide to take our class that they feel like they get so much more from our training. And gets you over that hump of, I'm not psychic, I can't do this. And, oh, yes, you can. And the reason you can is because there is a dispensation from source to allow us to have access to answers, to riddles, to issues, so that we can make better decisions. And why is that? Because we are at the end of the Kali Yuga and we are moving to a new age and we all are going to go together. So we want to help one another get there. And having the ability to make better decisions is really, really powerful.
Mm.
I'll share with you a story about a man who called in on the radio and asked why his daughter had been treating him so badly. He said he was a good father. He meditated regularly. He taught her what he knew. And here she's now out on her own and she's just treating him horribly. And the record keeper through me said, you and she were arch enemies in a past life. You continued your spiritual growth, but she did not. This time you agreed to sponsor her. She still feels like you're the enemy. Your opportunity is to continue to love her anyway. And at some point in the next few years, she will come around. Now, if you're a parent, knowing that all you have to do is keep sending the cards or the presents and reaching out, whether you get a response or not, it's like you get your marching orders for the highest choice, and at some point they turn around. And the same thing happened to me. One of my sons had an I'll call it an attitude, and wasn't speaking to me and trying to make trouble in the family. And one day his girlfriend said to him, "Aren't you going to open that Christmas present from your mom?" And he said, "No." He says, "It's from my mom. Like, I don't like her." And she said, "Well, can I open it?" And it was some glassware that I had picked out from a museum, and I had checked in and I had gotten that he would like it. So she said, "These are gorgeous. I think there's something wrong with you. Your mom seems pretty normal to me." So he decided that her input was important enough that he reached out to me. And he said, "I'd like to meet up with you when I'm in Wisconsin." And so on my way, I was actually at a conference in Wisconsin. And so I had my car and I was going to go meet him at a restaurant. And halfway there, I was terrified, just terrified. And I pulled over and I asked my guides, "Why am I so afraid?" And my guide said, "Because you're afraid he will tell you he doesn't want to ever have anything to do with you anymore." And so exactly the opposite was what was happening. And he was choosing to reconnect with me. And when all this went down, and I was still paying for his college early on, a few years earlier, maybe 2 or 3 years earlier, I remember being in a really tight situation financially and said to myself, "Well, I wanna know when he's gonna appreciate me," because I'd just written another check for 5K. I had emptied out my savings account, and then I'd gotten fired. It was one of those all related, right? So I asked this question in my head thinking, how you complain to yourself sometimes. And my guides came in and said, when he's 28." And when they said that, I burst out laughing because I thought that was the funniest thing I'd ever heard. I'm thinking tomorrow would be good
Yeah.
or next week would be okay, and here they're telling me it's like 5 years from now. When I got that message, I understood that I was holding up a fence, and I didn't realize I was doing this. I didn't realize that I had a hidden expectation or a subliminal expectation that he appreciate all the sacrifices I had made for him. So I just took it all away and said, doesn't matter. I'm good." And it didn't take 5 years. It only took 2 years.
Oh,
So
now that's powerful. I know that I'm sure everybody can appreciate that, but as a parent of teenagers, I very much appreciate that because they change so much and it does start to feel like, "Wait, aren't we on the same team?" And it's any
yeah.
tools that we can
Yeah, and
have.
for anyone who is the parent of a teenager, my, highest advice is to say to them when they tell you something that's going on, "Well, how are you gonna solve that, honey?" And the other phrase you can use is, "I know you'll make the right decision." And that is really hard as a parent because as a parent, we wanna jump in and say, "Oh, when I was your age, blah, blah, blah," or "If it were me, I would do this." And they don't need that. They've already been well trained by you. You've put your time in, and now it's their time. And the only difference between them and you at this juncture is experience and confidence. So if you give them the confidence that they're gonna make the right decision, guess where they will pull their decision from? Everything you've taught them.
Right.
And they won't have to oppose you because they are free to make whatever decision they want.
Mm,
And they also have the feeling, "Oh my god, it's on me."
yeah.
I can't
Yeah.
if she tells me I can't go to that party because they're doing drugs or something, um, I'm gonna go just to spite her. But if she says, "Well, I'm sure you make the right decision," what if something happens? It's all my decision. So it changes how they think.
Wow, there's a lot there. I love that, thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, so we've got Jessica has, raised her hand. Here we
Yeah.
go.
Hi. Hey, Maureen. So,
Hi.
um, all right. So I asked the question. I'm the one that it was supposed to say on a twin flame path, which I have just put all of this together. Basically, I met somebody 5 years ago, and it was the catalyst for my spiritual awakening. And I started having all kinds of spiritual phenomena. What happened was he triggered every single core wound within me, although the whole time I'm blaming him, like, you're the narcissist, you're this, you're that. And we're just not getting along. And there was some real fear within him, and he couldn't tell what the resistance was. He didn't want me to leave, but we just were not able to really get along. And so when one of our last arguments, this man's voice came and it was audible and said, "You are here to wake him up." And I didn't even know what any of this meant, So I
Are you
left.
still with
And
this man?
no, we've separated. We've been separated since August. And then all of this Saint Germain material started to appear in my reality, right? So
Well,
here's
I
the
can
thing.
tell you, I can tell you from my own experience being with my twin flame that it is very difficult because your partner can see through everything you do
Oh my God, yes.
and they can call you out on every little thing. And so that's both the good news and the bad news. The good news is it really turns you into a sterling character and it teaches them patience because one of the things that you're saying, look, I'm not saying it, what you're saying. I'm not going to tell you you're wrong. I'm going to tell you you need to be more gentle. You know,
Hmm.
if you're trying to train a tree, you don't push and push and push till the branch breaks. You slowly prune it. And do it with love. So there's two lessons there: one for the person who is highly critical, and one for the person who is the recipient of that criticism. And the person who's the recipient of the criticism is usually a pretty highly evolved person, and they don't realize those little things are like chips in the enamel on a car. So they're not noticeable right away, but if you're looking really closely, they are. And why is that important? Because if you are to help others and teach others, those little spots are gonna be brought out in the public eye and you're gonna wish you'd fixed them. So they're actually doing you a favor.
Right. And I did do the healing. I've been being divinely guided for the last 4 years since this all happened. But
Nice.
now I'm being shown that, you know, and you're probably not even going to believe this. And that's why I know you popped into my reality. He's an Aquarian and his middle name is Germain. And Lady Portia showed up in my reality. And so now I'm like, there is something big. I was just told Friday to leave my job. Literally, a 36-year career of hairdressing, I had to walk away from because there's something I'm supposed to do, something very big, but I'm being pulled away from that to allow myself time to learn and grow into what I'm supposed to be doing. And I don't know how to access exactly what it is that I'm supposed to be doing. How do I figure that out?
Well,
This
number
is big.
one, yeah, it is big. Number one, you want to keep a journal and write in your journal every day. And you can write whatever you want. You don't have to make it an agenda item, but you want to write, this is what's going on today. This is how I feel about it, like that.
Okay.
And then the next thing you want to do is learn how to open the Akashic Records. And we do have coursework in our school, and we do have a training program that we're bringing out that will help people grow a business, not just a skill. So I understand because I did the same thing. I had a nice corporate job and I was told, I went to the altar and said, okay, I'm ready. And a couple of weeks later, I was fired. And the thing that you want to understand is the money is there. You're just not sure where it's coming from. And that's another thing that I tell people when you get a bill or something like that, that you're stressing out over because you figured out you had enough money to pay the rent and this and this and this, and suddenly you're, got an advertising bill you forgot about. Your phrasing is, I know source knows something I don't know because I don't know how this is going to get paid, but my guidance was to go ahead and buy that. So, you pay attention and you follow your higher self. Now, the higher self protocol is a big deal. So I want to tell everyone, don't just assume you are getting your higher self connection. It's very common for people to be channeling energies and entities that are not 100% God light. So that's my number one rule of thumb. If you don't specify, if you're not 100% God light, you must leave. And if you're 100% God light, I will be happy to work with you. That's really, really important. Number two, in our training, we every time we open the records, we insist that we're working with beings of 100% God light. And I have the unfortunate position of having to identify for people when they're not channeling beings of 100% God light. I had a woman approach me at an event, a week-long event, and she told me how much she loved my work and she loved studying my material, but she didn't need to take any of my classes because she already had a good connection with her higher self, blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, good for you. That's awesome. And later that week, she had a session with one of the other teachers at this event. And she came back to me and she said, I'm so upset. This lady told me that I'm channeling a dark entity. And I nodded and I said, you didn't ask my opinion. I would have told you then. So I don't go around telling people. And I sure as heck, I'm not going to tell anybody on the show here today. So don't even ask. If you ask, I'll ignore the question. So don't ask. I'm not in a position to be connected to you in a way that would allow me to have that answer. So just be real clear about that. So that's the scary part, because there's a lot of people that this has happened to, people that are close to me that thought they were channeling higher stuff. But what happens is there's a tell. There's something that happens. You get told something by your guidance that is too wacky, too strange. And it isn't something you would do. Isn't something you would do in real life. So you recognize, okay, that's it. I'm not working with this anymore. And I'm going to start over. Now, the higher self protocol that I teach is available on my free app. So the app is called Illuminate, and it's available for Android and iPhone. It's in the wisdom section. There are 3 steps, 3 protocol. And you do need to do a little meditation where you ask for some specific information. And then you practice for 45 days. And at the end of 45 days, you have new DNA. And so you are able to allow that information to be accurate for you. But you spend 45 days practicing. It's like when you practice playing basketball, you stand there at the foul line and you shoot hoops. You don't pay any attention to the ones that miss, but you notice the ones that went in and what you did. And that's what we're doing with practice.
Thank you. And I'll sign up for your class too. Thank you so much, Maureen.
I love it. And I can't wait to read that book next. I've read Beyond the Flower of Life and I'm like, oh yes, let's learn about opening the Akashic Records. That's amazing. Yes, highly recommend Beyond the Flower of Life. That's wonderful. Thank you, Jessica. Thanks for sharing that with everybody. Fiona, would you like to come on and ask
Hi,
your question?
Hi, Maureen.
Hi.
Katie. So yeah, I signed up for this webinar because I thought we was going to talk about how to access our 5D. I had a really bad accident June the 19th last year, and it took quite a while for me to accept this information that came through, and I actually reached out to someone else for confirmation. But I was really I was meant to die in that accident. Another energy came in and just took control of my van and flipped it over on its roof. And a star being came in and saved me. And it's kind of like my whole life flipped around when my fan flipped around. Like all my savings when everything happened at the same time. So yeah, I'd love if you get anything about that, I'd love to know. And also, but I do feel that since the accident, I've really entered a different level of love and light in myself, and I feel that was the purpose really of the accident, was to kind of the star being just said, look, why are you not being the star being that you are? Come on, there's more, and you know it. And then left like that was it. This is why we saved you for this reason. That's my interpretation of that last bit of the sentence.
Do you still
Uh,
have a communication with the beings that saved you?
Not often, but I do believe I have a very clear connection to my higher self, and always have done, and have always followed the guidance, and it's always worked out. In fact, I
It sounds
told
like you're doing exactly what you're supposed to do. And I wouldn't question it. You're a part of the new normal.
well,
Everyone else is
I've
catching up
always
to what's
been
going on.
part of the new normal. My life has been very different than most people. I live off grid. I'm building the inside of my own cabin, and so I'm just suffering a lot with my body. I've not got the fitness or the strength that I used to have since the accident. And
Mhm.
I can't seem to bring it back. And my energy, I get tired quickly. So spiritually, I feel like I'm doing amazing, but physically, I'm still struggling with stuff.
A lot of the times when we have physical discomfort, it's because we're resisting something. So I would highly recommend you check out the Emotion Code by Bradley Nelson and learn how to treat yourself to clear out emotions that are stuck in your muscles and in your organs. And that will help a lot. It is something you can do for yourself. Even my hairdresser does it. So it's a really interesting body of knowledge. And I have a feeling that you're going to be writing something important. So, keep your journal on what you've done and how you're feeling, and then learn the emotion code. You can buy books, you can take trainings online and learn how to do it.
Now I
It's very
work with other
powerful.
people. I've got a degree in psychology, and I gave up being a psychologist because I realized that my intuition worked a lot quicker. I could help people get to the core of the issue, and therefore help them see it, help them understand it, and clear it very quickly. I've not always believed that I can do that for myself, but I'm, I can do it. Yeah, I'm kind of aware that there must be something I'm not seeing. That's why I haven't got my energy back. But part of me is like, is it just because I'm going through menopause? No,
No
it's something.
excuses. You
Mhm.
had lots of energy beforehand, and you can get it back.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. And no excuses. Even the whole thing about menopause is programming on us, programming to slow us down. You know, we're looking for a reason why things are the way they are. And our job is to step into our power and fix it, not worry about why. See, because in the
Mm,
3D way of looking at things, and that's really what this
yeah.
whole conversation is supposed to be about. In a 3D way of looking at things, we look at reasons that made something happen so that we can fix it.
Yeah.
So if I'm tired because of menopause, then maybe I can take a pill that will help me get through menopause. Or maybe I can sleep more because I need it. But
Mm,
when we are in 5D, we look at this and we say, what is it that I need to know? What is going
right.
on? Rather than the reason is X. And
Sure.
that's huge because when we move into the fifth dimension, we have the capacity to transform ourselves. Sometimes it's, baby steps at a time, but you can transform yourself and heal yourself. I met a guy at the gym this morning who had a cyst in his brain. And they operated but before they could operate to remove it, he was paralyzed in his whole right side. And he's now walking. He's on this stair step machine. He's able to use both hands. He's got full motion mobility. He's got it all. And he was completely paralyzed on one side. This is a guy over 60. So, we can choose to fix it. And it might take a little bit of time. It might take us working on our emotional wounds because emotional wounds are behind our problems. And we can look at other tools that will help us clear our field. A lot of times we have people who have moved into us that need to be cleared from us. And it's very, very important that you do clearing work on a regular basis. I can give
Maureen,
you lots.
I'm
Go ahead.
sorry, you've written 2 books on 5D,
Yes.
correct?
And the third one's coming out later this year.
Oh, do you think either of those might be helpful too for Fiona?
Well, yes, but here's and I do talk about clearing in Waking Up in 5D, and I think I talk about it a little bit in 5D Self. But what I want to say about all of this, there's a very small book that I wrote called Reweaving the Fabric of Your Reality. And it's all about clearing work and why there are entities and why they move in. There's many stories on adults whose parents moved into them when they died or passed. And, I had a client who had a stepfather that she looked after a little bit. And when he passed, suddenly she couldn't breathe and he had emphysema. So we cleared her and sent him to the light, because people who die that don't go to the light are afraid. And so they stick around here. Now, you're not allowed to stick around. It's like you're not allowed to speed on the highway, but lots of people do, because until you get caught, what's the big deal? So souls that pass on may hang out here. And if you remember that old movie called Ghost, they actually show that to you so you can kind of get a sense of what that's like. And if you've never seen it and you want to know what it's like, definitely watch it. It's a fun movie to watch. So understand that, you can pick up people in the grocery store. I was with a friend in the grocery store and he was buying the groceries and the lady in front of him was taking forever to pay. She was finding money in her pockets and her purse and everywhere. And, I could see he was getting a little anxious. So when we got home, I looked at this man and I said, "What's wrong with you?" I could tell that he said something weird to me, or he acted in a strange way that was not his normal way of behaving. And as soon as I used the what word, what's wrong with you? My guides came in and said, the little old lady, he cleared her by his interest and concern for her. And so you can pick up entities in the hospital, in the graveyard, in the grocery store.
So that's what you think's happening, that I've got an entity.
Yeah, so you want to clear all that. There's 3 videos that I created on my YouTube channel, and they're all about 5 or 10 minutes long. They're very short. That'll teach you how to clear yourself and how to clear people remotely.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I clear people all the time, so I can clear myself. Thank you.
Mhm.
Awesome. Thank you so
Can
much,
you?
Fiona.
Yeah, thank you. And can we go to Raina? She had a
Yeah.
really nice question at
Yes,
the chat.
yes,
Can you find her?
Marina. Yeah, here she is.
Hi. Oh, wow. I didn't know
Hi.
I was going to be up right away.
Oh, yeah, well,
I recently started getting AT interference when I was awakened. Before that, I was able to muscle test and it be like 95% accurate. Now it's like less than 50% accurate. And I can never, they always lie and tell me they're a source or they're an angel or something, and they're not. And I can never figure out what I need to do in order to stop this from happening.
Okay. So number 1, you want to learn the higher self connection protocol, because that is a fail-safe. They can't interfere with that because it's you and your higher self. It's not an outside experience. I can influence your pendulum or muscle testing just sitting across the table from you at dinner. I can see you doing it. I can send energy that'll change it. So what you want to realize is those things are good for maybe vitamins or what healing methods to use and things like that. But when you have an important question, you want to ask your higher self. All of us in 5D are integrating our higher self into our physical bodies. This has never been done before. So we're bringing our higher self in. So you want to get comfortable with that. And the way you do that is through the higher self connection. So get the app. It's free, and get that into that wisdom section and follow that protocol for 45 days. And remember, when you're doing this protocol, it's very important that you don't ask questions about other people, and you don't ask predictive questions, and you don't double check it. So if you ask, is it my highest and best good to watch a movie tonight? Don't then use your pendulum or your muscle testing to check it. because that's the whole purpose of the protocol, is you set aside everything that you're currently using and just work with this protocol. And it's the same reason you don't learn French and German at the same time. So it's not to make something bad or wrong, but simply I'm taking it higher, you know? When you drive a nice car and it's new, but maybe it's a less expensive car, when you have a bigger income, you might buy a nicer car. They're both cars. They both take you where you want to go. But the nicer cars has more comfort, has more luxury. And so when you work with the higher self, that energy that's you in a higher vibration, it is you connecting to source, because your higher self is plugged into source, just like a transmitter for a transformer for your computer, and it steps down the power. So your connection is being brought in by your higher self. So it's easier to connect with source because you are working with your higher self. And your higher self knows what you know, and your higher self knows what you care about. And let me give you an example. When I was working in the corporate world, and one of my jobs was to get publicity for my nonprofit. And I'd called this reporter all day long and never got a response, never got a call back. And so I'm on my way to work, and I'm on my way finishing work, and my guides came in and said, my higher self came in and said, call the guy. And I said, no, I'm hungry. I want to go home and have dinner. Call the guy. No, I've got kids at home. They're hungry too. They are waiting on me to come home and make dinner. Call the guy. So I did. If I get told 3 times, even when I'm arguing with my higher self, I'll still do it. So my phone call, the guy picks up, the reporter picks up, and he says, Maureen, how could you possibly know that I would be here at this time? It's 5 till 5. And all I could do was laugh. And then that's not the best part. So I succeeded in getting through to the guy. But not only that, but my story made the front page of the largest newspaper in the state the next day.
Wow. That's awesome. I downloaded the app, and I'm going to do the higher self thing. But the thing I do is the divine muscle testing, which is also asking my higher self and source.
I understand, but you're still using your body, which can be influenced, unfortunately.
Okay. And then this whole thing was when I started healing and clearing entities and ETs and stuff like that, and started learning how to do all that stuff. And I even put up wards, protection, seals, and even the 12D shield and field all over me. And they're still messing with me, not only through my head, but through my body and through my families too. They gave my mom like a heart attack. I had to go to the emergency room on Christmas, and like they keep messing with me in those ways. And I've never had anxiety attacks in my whole life until that started.
Okay. So the people who taught you these other methods need to know what you're experiencing. That's number one. If you haven't talked to them about it, you need to. And number 2, I highly recommend you do more meditation and more prayer, and invoke beings of 100% God light, call on the Ascended Masters. There is a group of beings called the Golden Sheets that came in the last 5 years, and they provide a filmy protection around you that makes you less of a threat to your enemies, less of a threat to those that would want you to fail. And because you're poking the bear's coming after you. So you want to be able to disappear from their visibility. And you can also invoke the cloak of invisibility. So if you haven't been taught those things, then maybe you need to study with somebody who will teach you those things.
Okay. And so yeah, that's awesome. I'm definitely going to be looking into them, though. So that's the reason I started healing and clearing them, that was part of my mission, one of my missions to do it. And obviously they're doing this so I can stop healing them, but that's my mission. I can't stop.
Well, if this is your mission, then you need to be calling on Ashtar Command and the ET forces of light. And if you're not doing that, then you're out there, a lone ranger. You're not fighting Battlestar Galactica style if you're by yourself. So you need to be invoking the beings of light who are on the side of the light and can help you.
Okay. And
Yeah.
is your stuff, like your courses, are they able to help me in this way? Because I reached out to the person that taught me and stuff, and they just told me I have to buy into another level in order to figure it out.
Well, yeah, I think that that's true, that you could find what you're looking for in our training programs. But I will also suggest to you that you read some of my books and start working with the Ascended Masters, the Galactic Command, Ashtar Command, the ETs of the Light, and so on. And if you don't know who those guys are, then it's incumbent upon you to find out who they are. And I can steer you in that direction at another time.
Okay, thank you so much. I really appreciate it, Maureen.
You're welcome.
God bless.
Thank you. Thank you, Raina. Okay, Carolyn, can I ask you to come in here?
Hello, pleased to meet you, Kara.
Hi, thanks for being here.
It was a pleasure speaking with you yesterday, Maureen. I
It
ordered your,
was.
I ordered your book. It's arriving today, and I'm going to sink into it. Looking forward to that. My question is, my hands get hot a lot, especially at night, like really, really hot. Sometimes my feet, but mostly my hands. Do you have insight into what's happening?
Well, what are you doing when your hands get hot?
Anything. They just get hot. I could be making dinner. I could be going to the washroom. I could just be walking. They get physical.
Well,
They radiate.
the hand is one of the energy points. So if they get hot and let's say your palms get ruddy, it's a sign that you're really plugged in. So it's reflecting that connection that you have established or have brought in. And it's also an opportunity for you. So when your hands get really hot, you might finish what you're doing and then take a moment and go journal and see what comes through. You might be surprised.
It's perfect. It's validation for me. I did ask my higher self what it meant. And so that's what I got. Thank you.
Very good.
Oh, beautiful. Love that. Thank you, Carolyn. All right, Sean.
Yes. Hi. Good afternoon.
Hi, welcome.
Thank you. So I have two small questions. The first one is I'm in the middle of doing the 45-day higher self activation, and I just finished the Beyond the Flower of Life. And I was wondering, is there a first mudra for the first 6 or 7 breaths, or is it just like whatever you feel like?
If you're doing the Merkaba, the mudras are taught in the video that's available to purchase. And so the mudras are very specific for the Merkaba. Is that what you're asking about?
Yeah, I know that the two mudras at the end are the balancing of the male and female, but the first 6 breaths, I don't think there was a picture in the book.
I think the book is an accompaniment to the course. Is that right?
Right, right. So
Okay.
the mudras are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. This is also an alternate for 14.
Got it. Okay. Thank you for clarifying that. And the second question, it kind of relates to Reina's question, but just want to bounce off that. But I'm in a very pivotal time in my life right now, and I'm finally stepping into my power and like gaining a lot of attention from the world. And I've been visited by the reptilians in my dreams. So I wonder if I'm just supposed to keep, calling my guides and calling beings of light, or is there anything specific for the reptilians that you have for me?
Well, if you're sure they're the reptilians, this first thing you want to ask, are you 100% God light? And if they're not, then banish them. You don't want to hold hands with anything. It's very exciting. Oh, I'm important. They've come in. They're showing up. I can see them in my dream time, blah, blah, blah. Baloney. It's not enough. It's not enough. You need to demand that they're 100% God light. And I'll tell you a funny story of a woman who had a dream that she was sitting on a park bench and a very handsome man came along. And, she could feel herself getting interested because he was so good looking. And he said, I have the secret of youth. Would you like to know it? And the first thing she said back to him was, are you 100% God light? And he said, well, no, but would you like the secret of youth? I can give it to you. And she said, get lost. So hold your standards high. You know, all women have been told, don't settle. So don't you settle.
Yeah, actually, I mean, these reptilians are coming in as like evil entities instead of like being seductive. Like they're coming
You
in the form
banish
of
them. You banish them. You call in Archangel Michael. You call in the Legions of Light. You call in the Ashtar Command. You call in the big guns. And if you don't understand this, then take the class called Clearing Entities. It's on my website. It's one of the courses that's available, and you can take it online, and you'll learn a lot about these things so that you can have the knowledge to do this. You've already said you've come into your power. That means you can banish them. You're already powerful.
Got it. Thank you so much.
Beautiful.
And by the way, activating your Merkaba properly will also keep a huge distance. They will keep a huge distance from you. So my highest recommendation to you, Sean, is for you to get the course. It's I don't know, $99, something like that. You know, people for years and years and years, people paid $500 to take the class. So you can get it on online, and you'll learn all of these things, and you'll properly learn how to open your Merkaba and turn it on. And the Beyond the Flower of Life also has information on how to program your Merkaba. Is that the right one? Yeah, this one.
And I will just say that I've taken the course and read the book, and they do go hand in hand. And when I was reading Beyond the Flower of Life, I was kind of like, oh, I don't know if this would make sense if I didn't already, if I wasn't taking this course. So for me, they really went well together.
Mm-hmm.
And you reminded me of a really wild experience that I had during that time when I was engaging with the book and the course, where I was kind of going to sleep. And sometimes when I go to sleep, I'll have kind of visions and more like it feels like a shamanic journey. And I was kind of in that in-between like theta state. And for some reason, I was kind of like imagining my Merkaba, and then I imagined Maureen's Merkaba at Merkaba, and and um and I was like feeling the way that it feels for her when it's active. And all of a sudden, this helicopter at midnight, it came right through the house. My houses where I live are very close together. And it was like, it didn't stop outside my house, I will say, but it came so close. And I thought, how on earth is my husband sleeping through this? I looked out the window and I could see the light of the helicopter coming right through between the rows of houses behind me. It was wild. And it happened like all of a sudden it was like Maureen, Merkaba, boom. What is that noise? Oh my goodness. It was wild. It was wild. So anyway.
And just to be clear with everyone, the reason that happens is because there is a group of people who are charged with the mission of tracking the illegal aliens. And we're not talking green cards here. And when someone turns on their Merkaba, or in Kara's case, she added mine, they thought she might have been an illegal alien that has popped into the reality, and they're not allowed to be here. So they're checking it out. And they can tell that you're an ordinary human, but not from the distance when you show up on whatever device they use to capture that data.
It was really wild.
And I do explain that in the book, in the Beyond the Flower of Life. And there's a lot of tools in this book for anybody, whether you're doing the Merkaba or not.
Yes, I highly recommend it. And thank you, Sean. Thank you for sharing and for coming on.
Mm-hmm.
Maureen, do you have time for one more question? We've got Trista here. Okay. Thank you. Trista, can you please unmute there?
Hello, Maureen.
Hi.
Talk to you today. I have like two quick questions, I guess. My first question would be, I am like yourself in that I'm actually in the corporate world right now. my dad passed about 2 years ago, and that created a huge awakening. This is all very new to me, about 2 years new. I'm, I'm just fascinated, and I'm learning so much right now, and it's definitely I'm not fulfilled, obviously, at, in the corporate world whatsoever, and so I'm kinda learning where my new path is. I'm not married, don't have children, have had doggy children, and so I have not figured out what my soul's path is yet, but just wondering if you have any guidance for someone like me or anyone else out there who is in the corporate world but is trying to switch paths to something, that's more soul fulfilling and might not have exactly what that is yet. And then my second question would be, I know that there is the Ascension event that's in Sedona coming up. And then I know that there's also the immersion also in March, but I'm just wondering if there's anything else on the horizon outside of March for those of us that might not be able to make those events.
I do offer a year-long training program called the Ascension Institute.
Oh,
We open it up once a year, and I believe this is scheduled to open in May,
okay.
and it runs from September to September. So that's a wonderful way to have a program that you show up for, you get growth, you get knowledge, and at the end of that, you probably will know what you want to do.
Okay. It opens in May.
So
I will
sign up on my
definitely do that.
website so that you'll get that email
Okay. Yeah, I do get your
announcements.
emails already. So
Wonderful. Did you say 2 questions? Did you get to ask them both?
I did. Yeah,
Okay.
that was about the event. And then just I don't know if you have any guidance, just,
Yep.
For anything
For what?
around somebody trying to look for
Well, I think we answered it with one
yeah,
answer.
going to
Okay.
that. Yep.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you,
Thank you.
Trista.
So, yeah. And, check out the book, Waking Up in 5D. I think you'll find it useful.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Well, Maureen, I'm sorry, everybody, there were some amazing questions in the chat. I'm really sorry we didn't get a chance to hit everything, but I feel like the ones that we were able to ask covered a lot. You have some incredible events, and Trista mentioned a couple of them. Can you talk about how can people learn more and see you and interact with you?
Okay. So the first event that's coming up is on the solstice, and it's the annual spring event that's done here in Sedona, and it's called Sedona Ascension Retreat.
And I'll be
And
there too. I can't wait to
and
see you.
I don't have the dates in front of me. You may know them better
It's
than me.
I think it's the 8th through the 10th of March.
Okay, 8th through 10th of March. And then the next event after that for us is the immersion event, and that is where the Gaia company, the Gaia TV company, is opening their doors. They have a event space, and they have invited, I don't know, maybe 20 speakers, and I have been one of the speakers that they invited, and these are world-class speakers, so it's very exciting. And that event is also going to be broadcast. And for 2 days, you can watch anything you want on Gaia for free. So go sign up as an interested party, and you'll be able to watch anything you want on Gaia for 2 days for free. If you decide you want to come to the event, you can get a $99 discount if you use my name, Maureen, as the discount code. So if you're deciding you want to go to, you would fly to Denver, and then you would probably need to rent a car to get into Boulder, where the actual event is located. And you will have an amazing experience. It's going to be phenomenal, phenomenal, phenomenal. In that particular event, in addition to me teaching about 5D, there's also going to be a man that I've studied with for the past 5 years, and that's Ibram Karim, a man from Egypt who teaches biogeometry. And there's also another man that I studied with for 30 years. His name is Lee Holden, and he is a well-known Qigong teacher. So I am super jazzed to be on the platform with these guys. I can tell you that having that freedom to watch anything you want on Gaia, if you've never turned tuned to Gaia, this is your chance to check it out and do it completely free. And my class will be at 11 a.m. on Saturday. 11 a.m. on Saturday. So, mark your calendar if you want to catch that. It's going to be a very enlightening training on 5D, and we won't be taking questions live. It's my talk is only 1 hour, and so it's jam packed with 5D information. So it'll be really fun to be part of that, even if it's online. And then after that, we're looking at an event that we're going to do, I think, in April here in Sedona. Just me and people who are interested in working with my material. And so those are the things that are coming up that are right away. And as I said earlier, we'll be opening the Ascension Institute later in May. And we are have a special announcement at the end of this month that I will leave you hanging.
Oh my goodness. No fair.
So my closing advice to stay in 5D is to say that I'm asking for a day of heaven on earth for me and everyone I come in contact with and everyone I'm in contract with, and watch what happens. And if you do it for a couple of weeks and then you forget, then you'll really notice.
Yes, thank you for that, because that was another thing I learned in Beyond the Flower of Life, and I implemented it, and I was like, whoa, where has this been? And I forgot to keep using it. So I need to start doing it again, because I loved it. That's amazing. I am seeing in here that some of the, maybe the Gaia, it might be sold out. Do you know about that? Do you know if
No,
it's-
I don't. Actually, I haven't checked my email this morning, but
you can watch it live online, it sounds like.
yes, you can watch it live online. And I'm not sure how you'd sign up for it yet, but there's lots of promotional material that we've put out. So check our emails, check our website, and you should be able to sign up to attend for free if you're not going to be there in person.
Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you so much. This has been amazing. Thank you, Maureen. Thank you, everybody who's joined. This has been lovely. Everybody
good.
have a beautiful rest of the day. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you all for coming. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you. Hi, Maureen. See you.
Thanks. Bye.
Sounds good.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. Bye. Thank you.